You want to get started? Or?
Sure, whenever.
Great. There's still some folks trickling in. But...
Oh, okay, whenever you're ready.
Yeah. Welcome, everybody. I recognize most of you, but if you don't know me, my name is Pat Hasberg. My wife Ashley and I own the shop here. Took over in 2022. Thanks for coming out. It's I know it's cold, and but we're ice fishermen, so we can handle it, right?
Making ice.
That's right. We're making ice, so that's a good thing.
There's no Packer game tonight.
No Packer game tonight. Yeah,
like
yeah.
last Thursday.
Yeah, we had a good turnout.
Oh, did you? Good.
Yeah, it was good. Tonight we have Pat Westberg. Pat is local angler, used to guide back in the day.
Starting back up.
He's newly retired, so congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And yeah, he knows a ton about tip-up fishing, and he's got a great presentation for us tonight. I will be giving away, like I said, so make sure you fill out your name on a little ticket, and we'll be giving away prizes at the end. I also want to let people know we'll be doing 10% off everything in the store tonight, except for Vexelar's and Kevin's custom rods. But I don't know if I'm forgetting anything, but
I think you got her covered.
yeah, I think we're good. Yeah, thanks again for coming. Let's give it up for Pat.
And thanks to Pat for continuing the tradition of having these seminars. There's a lot of it's a good place to go on a Thursday night and hang out and hopefully pick up some information. So at any time, if anybody has any questions at all, just raise your hand. I'll get to you as soon as I finish my thought. And just to go back a long time ago, a friend of mine knows that I do some public speaking, and so he gave me an article about speaking in public, and he said the main point of the article is you have to say something funny in your opening statement or whatever to your crowd. So I always start out by telling a couple jokes so I get your full attention here. So did you hear about the blonde that was killed ice fishing?
No.
She was run over by the Zamboni. Okay, and then these are the only two clean jokes that I know. Okay, and I apologize if you saw me talking about panfish plastics last year, because I'm using the same two jokes. Okay, so this guy walks into a library and he says to the librarian, he says, "Can you tell me where your books on paranoia are?" And she goes, "They're right behind you." So, anyways. Now that I have your full attention, I want you to please keep in mind that I'm not a professional here. I'm just a common schmuck that, according to my wife, fishes way too much. And so I'm going to share some tips and tricks and things that I do might be a little bit different than what you guys all do. So first of all, let me see. I'm gonna start out with some less than exciting stuff, and I just wanted to mention our Casting for Kids seminar. Okay, a seminar. It's a tournament and it's a fundraising event, and what we do is we have a fishing tournament, and we raise money for the UW Children's Hospital, the Carbone Cancer Center, and Wally Banfi, a lot of you guys know him, and Coach Mark Osiki, the ex-assistant head coach for the Badgers, and myself started this about 7 years ago. There was a COVID year in there, and to date we've raised over $750,000 that we have donated to the children, the Carbone Cancer Center, Children's Hospital. So what we do is we sell guide trips, and we have a silent auction, a live auction, and then we have bucket raffles, and it's probably the least stressful fishing tournament that you'll ever be in. And there's trophies for first place in 7 different divisions: perch, bluegill, muskie, pike, bass, walleye, I'm forgetting crappie is the other one. And it's just the reason I'm mentioning it is because it's a great event, and we're always looking for guides. Anybody who would be able to take a couple people out. Our goal is to get 80 boats this year. Last year we had 75, and donation items for the auction, stuff like that, and volunteers. So if anybody is interested in doing that, I know my good friend Noah here helps us out, and there's a lot of the local guides, and Pat is generous enough to donate live bait to the guides during the pre-fishing for the day of the event. And it's just a really cool event to be part of. The guides who participate, you get jerseys and hats and shirts and breakfast and box lunch, and then there is a big dinner, and that's when the auction happens. We're going to right now we're working on, not 100% sure, but we're going to be raffling off a Polaris 1000 from Quams, and we're going to sell, this is tentative, but we're going to sell 200 tickets at $100 a ticket, just to, raise money for the Children's Hospital. So if you have any questions about it at all, I got brochures up here, or you take a business card, give me a call anytime, and I'd love to get you guys on board. So
if anyone's scared of him, you can talk to me.
Yeah, Noah knows a lot. So, but again, if you guys have any questions at all, just raise your hands. And the next boring thing I'm going to talk about is safety equipment. And that'll be quick. I always, whenever I go out ice fishing, there's no such thing as safe ice. I always carry my picks with me and a whistle. Whistle's a universal distress signal. They're going to hear this a lot easier than, if you go through and you're yelling. So the other thing you want to keep in mind is you want to make sure that these are on you. In your bibs or whatever. I've walked out before and kind of going on, might have been a little too thin ice, and I'm going, okay, well, if this happens, am I ready? Well, I had my picks, but they were in my otter sled dragging behind me, so they're not going to do you any good right there. So just make sure you carry those. Another real good item to have is these throw bags. Any of you guys using these at all? Noah has one. Okay, I used to carry a actual throwable with 50 foot of rope on it, and it's, it was just really bulky and cumbersome. These things are, you can pick them up on Amazon for $25. Clam, a lot of different manufacturers, but you just wrap this around it hopefully in the unlikely event that somebody goes in, you wrap this around your wrist, you open this up, and you can literally throw this 50 feet, and now the person's got a lifeline. So it's a lot, it's just a good thing. I've used these, I carry one of these in my boat, and I have used it actually one time canoeing. We had a person get caught up in some trees, and there was an eddy there, and she was spinning around, and luckily we were behind her, and we went, floated by her, threw it to her, pulled her out on our way. So it's real handy, and I think they're $25, $30. So what's your life worth? The other thing is when I'm I fish out of an ATV or off an ATV, and when I'm under power, going out, coming back, I'm always wearing this life vest. It's an auto inflate. You'll be really happy you have one if you go in. You have, when you're ice fishing, you have bulky clothes on, and I've found even when I'm pan fishing or whatever I'm doing, if I'm tip-up fishing, I'll go drill my holes, get everything. Once I get my bearings and I'm confident that the area is good, then I will take it off. But a lot of times, even when I'm bluegill fishing, I don't even notice I have it on. So anyways, it's a, yes.
Do you need that if you have a flotation suit?
Not if you have a flotation suit, but I have the flotation bibs, and I just cannot give up my parka because I know where all my pockets and all my stuff are. So I haven't bought the float parka yet, but I just have gotten the habit of using those. Okay, so let me see. Safety equipment tip-ups. Okay, we all have tip-ups. There's two different tip-ups that I use, and the beaver dams obviously have been around forever. And I started using the polars. I was telling somebody over here about 20-something years ago, and I was at Shopko, and they were blowing out polar tip-ups for $2.99 a piece, and so I bought 20 of them, and I learned to like them. Okay, at that price. The nice thing about the beaver dams is you can repack them. Yeah, if they get a little stiff after years of use. I haven't run into that yet. The shafts freezing on these polars yet. The thing I like about the polars is, again, I'm not sponsored by these guys. I'm just telling you what works for me. Is the flag never pops out like the beaver dam does, you know. It's got the spool, the handle built in. I know Dick has soldered handles on his. The other nice feature is where the line comes out, is you can pull that out if you have to untangle or whatever. You don't have to cut your line. I mean, it's just a bunch of little things. And then the other thing that I like is they have these little clips on the bottom. So when I use as large a bait as I can when I'm pike fishing all the time, and you know, those your bait is always swimming, it seems, in circles, and inevitably with the beaver dam, and again, I'm not knocking those, I'm just telling you my experience. How many of you have pulled your tip up in and realized that there's extra 10-foot of line out? That bait's laying on the bottom. What's that? Yeah. You know, that bait's laying on the bottom and it's not hanging in the strike zone. So, I mean, if you got 3 tip-ups out, you've just decreased your odds by 33% by having this, not having your spool spinning. So these polars have a little clip, and they can only spin so far, and it keeps your bait in the strike zone. So it's a little something, but it works really, really good for me. So I get a lot of questions about leaders. Okay, and I'm gonna pass around the leader that I make. The big question is fluorocarbon leaders versus wire leaders, okay? And even in clear water, in all the Madison chain, I do not use fluoro, period. And I know a lot of people will disagree with me and whatever. I just know what works for me. I'm using this American fishing wire. Pardon me? Okay. This is 7x7. They make a 49 strand micro. This is the Micro Supreme. And this is 26-pound tests. This is, 30 I've taken the 12-pound test, this micro wire, put leather gloves on, and tried to break it, and it is impossible. So this 25-pound line is, it's way more than you need. The nice thing about this is you're not going to get bit off, period. And people think, well, it's wire, they're going to see it. The 26-pound test micro wire has the equivalent diameter as a 4-pound monofilament. So it is super thin, it's very flexible, does not have a lot of memory, and you're not going to get bit off. So I'm going to pass this around. I make all my own leaders, and I'm gonna go through that.
You just use regular fishing knots on it then?
I'll go through that at the end of my. I'm going to show you how I make a leader real quick. Okay. So in my opinion, you always want to use the largest bait that is available, the extra large shiners. They can be a real pain in the butt, tripping your flag, but there's a couple things that you can do. And a lot of times what I'll do is I'll take a fingernail clippers, and I will take the shiner and I'll cut the tail off, okay? And if you really want to go Dahmer on them, you could cut a couple of the side fins, and then they go like this, and they're very vulnerable that way, but they won't. You want to make sure you don't cut the meat of the fish. It's like clipping your fingernails. You just want to get the part of the tail, the fin, and that will decrease the number of minnow flags you have. And then another trick that I use is on this. It's going to take a second here. I'll try not to hook myself. Is I use a little planer board clip. Okay. So what you have here, let me set this up real quick. And this is, if you got a shiner that is really spunky, and all it is it wraps around the polar, the side of the tip up, and it's just a planer board clip, okay? So then what I'll do is I'll just lightly, you don't want to jam the line all the way in, but you just want to lightly put that between the pads, and now that's a little bit off. Okay, so now that shiner's not gonna trip your flag. When old Mr. Pike comes rolling around, you're partying. Okay? So that is, I had a bunch of planer board clips sitting around, so I don't use the black ones, I use the red ones. So anyways, that's a nice little trick to prevent the minnow flags. Okay, any questions on that? Yes, sir.
You mostly tip off aim for pike then?
Yeah, and walleyes.
Okay, so would you still use the extra large shiners for walleyes? Or you go downsize?
I do downsize for walleyes, but I will use, there's sometimes I'll use fatheads, not very often, but for the most part, I'll use the large shiners and I will clip their tails. Okay. What's that? Oh, okay. Yeah,
If you're
it'll wait.
targeting walleye, do you still use wire, or do you? switch
No,
them out?
oh, that's the other point I was going to make. If I'm targeting walleye, if I'm going out on Winnebago or a known walleye only lake, I'm going to use an 8-pound mono leader and a small treble hook, or a single hook, and that's going to be my setup. But using that 7-strand wire in Madison, I have caught walleyes, I've caught pike, muskies, bass, and it doesn't seem to bother them, especially the pike. And even though that water's clear, those fish, it's so that diameter wire is so thin. Well, you guys can see it. It's so thin they can't see it, and you don't get bit off. Okay. Another little trick I use when it's or that I don't want to say I use it, but I use it, is these hole covers, and I have little aerators on them, and this will prevent your hole from freezing up. If that's something that bothers you, I use these. I kind of push it off to the side, and you can go all day pike fishing in sub-zero weather, and that gets a little annoying listening to, but you can keep your hole open. And I use these, I'll use these tip down fishing and tip up fishing too when it's below freezing. So that's just something that it's more gear, yes, but it makes your day a little easier. Okay, and when I use a lot of large shiners and large suckers, and I always scent my bait. Okay, Bang is a real good one. Any kind of fish formula, any kind of fish scent that you have, I always scent my minnows. And the other thing is, how many times have you got to your drilled your holes and you got a dead shiner or two sitting in your bucket, right? People throw them on the ice. I'll take those to the hole, and again, this is kind of Dahmer, but I'll step on them and kick them into the hole. If they float, a lot of times what happens is you'll have the scales will slowly be falling down, and it's creating scent in the area, and pikey dead stuff. And if it sinks to the bottom of the hole, it's even better. It's going to sit there, and it's going to smell, and it's going to help. It's going to up your odds. It's going to help you catch some more fish. Okay, any questions? Okay. So there's a lot of great spots in Madison to pike fish. The entire chain is really good, and there's two kind of mistakes that I have made over the years, and I've seen a lot of people make, and I just wanted to point them out. And the first one is a lot of people fish below the fish. Their baits are too low in the water column. Okay, these pike, the eyes are on the top of the head, so when they're swimming, they're not looking down, towards the bottom for something to eat. They're looking up. They're looking ahead, and they're looking up, and a lot of times they're looking right below the ice. People catch bluegills and perch or whatever, and if they foul or if they hook them bad or whatever, and they release them and they die and they're right under the ice, a lot of times that's what these pike are feeding on. Okay, and the other thing that I'll point out is they do not fit, people do not generally, as a rule, fish deep enough in given the time of year. Okay, so I'm going to show you how bad of an artist I am, and I'm going to make a couple points here. Okay, this is like once the ice goes over the main lake, this is what I'll be doing. So this is your ice. Okay, and this is the typical Monona, Mendota, Wabisa, whatever. You're going to have your shoreline, and it's going to go and it's going to drop off, and then it's going to drop off into deep water. Okay, so you're going to have weeds. Okay, and anyways, let's say this is 3 to 6 foot. Your weed edge is, 9 to 10, and this is, say 15. What I'm gonna, if I'm by myself, okay, you want to cover the three main, the three highest percentage areas because you're by yourself. So your first one is going to be, it's going to be right above the weeds. I'm going to have a tip up hanging there. Your next one is going to be right on the weed edge or slightly off in 9 to 10 foot of water. And then you're going to have one more set in 13, 14, 15 foot of water. And that's this time of year. If I were going out tomorrow, this is what I'd be setting up. Another mistake, and I have been guilty of this too, is people go up to and they put their little depth finder on, they kneel down, they drop down to the hole, or kneel down to the hole, they drop down, and they pull their baits up, 18 inch, 15 inches, whatever, they've always done. I think that wastes a lot of time. And in 15 foot of water, again, my first set is going to be right above these weeds. If you have, let's say you have 3 foot of water above the weeds, I'm going to take my tip up, and I'm going to go like this. Oops, maybe I'm not. I got a little snag here. This is going to be the bottom of the ice. I'm going to drop that tip up down maybe 2 feet, 2.5 feet, and put your shiner on and off to the next hole. This next hole, I know I'm in 10 foot of water, right? I'm 6 foot tall. I'm going to rip out 6 foot of line. That's going to put my bait hanging right here, right above. So any fish that's off the weed edge or right on the weed edge is going to see it. It's going to be visible. And then if I'm getting down 15 foot, I'll probably pull 9, 10 feet of line out, 6 foot, and then just grab another 3 and drop it down. It doesn't have to be that technical, is the point I'm trying to make. You don't have to be 18 inches above the bottom or whatever your magic number is.
If you're just setting up right away, you setting 2 tip ups and you're jigging one of them, or you setting?
If I'm setting, I'll go into that. Okay. If I'm setting, if I'm just doing 3 tip ups.
Okay. So if those are 2 tip ups, which one are you jigging? The deeper one? I would probably jig the deeper one, because I'll tell you why in just a minute. Okay. So the next scenario is you're fishing a drop off, and say that's your ice and your weeds end here. Okay. Like in Mendota, it's not uncommon, or Kaganza, even Monona, it's not uncommon for me to put pike tip-ups out in 30 to 35 foot of water. Okay, when you're fishing that deep, you have to use one of the depth finders. But again, I'm not going 18 inches above bottom. I'm going to go 3 to 4 feet off bottom because those fish are not swimming along the bottom. I mean, they're, I'm not saying that they don't or they haven't, but as a rule, they're going to be above the bottom. So you want to put your bait where it's going to be, where it can get hit. So if I'm out on Mendota and your weed edge is in 10 here, I'm going to put a set down off the weed edge, and then I'm going to follow the break down. And if you can find there, I mean, you can look at a map and see where the contours, where it kind of flattens out. Drop one right here. That's your sweet spot right there. And I mean, if you look at any of these maps, and this is going to be more of a midwinter scenario, like once late January, early February or whatever, when the fish I have found tend to pull out of the weeds. There's not as much oxygen up in the shallow water, and a lot of the shallow water pike have been caught and they're poor man's lobster in somebody's kitchen, so they're not there. A lot of times they move, and there's more oxygen in the deeper water, and it's a good idea to put that into your bag of tricks to fish a little bit deeper there. Okay. The other thing is you want to look for in this type of scenario, the deeper water setup that I'm talking is the tapering points that come off the bars. There's Dunn's bar has a big point off of it, Brearley, Commodore. You look at any of the humps or bars, and you're always going to see these long tapering points, especially on Kaganza too. And those points are migration areas for the fish. They pull up, they run up and down them, and a lot of times they don't have a big shiner sitting there with a quick set waiting for it to get eaten. So, okay. Any questions? Okay. So another scenario. Okay, I'm going to talk about setting the tip ups. If I'm setting, let's say there's 3 of us out and we got, or 2 of us out and we got 6 tip ups set up like this. The last thing I'm going to do is park my camp in the middle of the tip ups. Okay, you wanna pull off to one side, or if the wind is this way, obviously you're going to sit over here. You want to stay away from your tip ups. The people make noise, and the sound travels 8 times faster than in water than it does in air. So those fish, if you're right in the middle of it, you're spooking fish. And it's just get away from them. You're going to catch more fish doing that. I don't use creepers. Okay, they're the devil for when you're ice fishing. And it's like all of us have been in a group of 5 or 6 people, and it's a mad dash for the flag. And what we like to do is we kind of predetermine, okay, it's Dick's turn, it's Noah's turn, whatever. Who's ever, we will walk up to it, but the group stays back, and the one person who is going to take the flag walks gingerly up to the flag, and then determines whether or not there's a fish, or then it's once the fish is hooked, it's game on. Everybody can come up and do it. But the commotion on the ice when the flag first goes up, the commotion from 5 or 6 people running to the flag is what causes the majority of your drops. And they're going, oh, something ain't right here. I'm out of here. So anyways, that's a good habit to get into. The other thing I like to do is that's a dry erase, right? Okay. If you got say you got 9 tip-ups out, what I like to do is that is when I bring the windless into, and I did not grab my pike windless. I grabbed my walleye windless. So you're just going to have to pretend. But on in a tip-up set like this, it's going to up your odds if you have some sort of motion in the mid, and especially in the middle of the spread. So what I'll do is I'll put tip-ups out, and then I'll put my windless tip-up. Is everybody familiar with these? These windless tip-ups, they use the wind to constantly move your bait up and down. So before I get too far into that, this is, what are these called, Pat?
Ice stopper bobbers?
Ice stopper bobbers. They use those in the auto hook set. So what, rods, but what you do is you fill this with the de-icer, and even, you gotta say, I fish out of an 8-inch hole, you got an 8-inch hole, and there's the fluid, this is half full of this fluid, okay? And even if your hole freezes, your lure is going to still move up and down with from the motion of the flag. If you loosen this, so this is how this works. You put it over your hole, you drop this down. Okay, I got a flag. Okay, that's a little loose, but this keeps the spool from turning. It's supposed to anyways. It does. You just got to tighten it right. And then the wind catches this fin, and it's constantly moving your bait up and down. And sometimes there's days that this tip-up will get hit exclusively versus the stationary tip-ups. On this, I kind of have it downsized because this is one of my walleye sets. But if I'm pike fishing, I'm going to use I'll use just a regular jig head and a large shiner. I use airplane jigs. You guys familiar with those? They have the little wings on the side of them. So when the wind lifts it up, when it goes back down, the jig it's kind of like a jig and wrap. It creates motion, and so there's days that's gonna up your odds a whole lot. Okay, another yes sir.
Using that airplane jig, do you like tip it with a
Yeah,
shiner?
yeah, you're gonna tip it with a shiner. I haven't done this, but you could tip it with a paddle tail. You could tip it with a Mr. Twister, but in winter I like using meat. Yes sir.
Have you ever tried using a jig and wrap with that?
I have not. I think that's going to give me something to do this winter, but I don't know why it won't work.
Maybe a little bit too heavy.
Yeah, that's the only thing that I'm thinking. So, yeah, I'll let you know. I'm in here quite a bit. So, yes, sir.
What do you have on the end of that? Is that a spoon?
On this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is again, this is my walleye setup. So this is just a little Swedish pimple, and I'll hook for walleyes. I'll have a small shiner on, or even a fat head. For pike, I'm gonna have a 7-strand leader, and I'm gonna have some sort of bigger jig head or a bigger Swedish pimple, or an airplane jig. So,
Using a live fish with that, or is it one of your dead ones?
you know, I've used both. If you're gonna hook, when I'm using these, if say I'm just using a regular jig head, when I hook it, I'm gonna hook it through the mouth, and I'm gonna kind of get into the face a little bit more, so, because it's gonna be constantly moving, and you don't want to lose your bait, so you got to hook it. Okay? No. It'll stay right. You know, if the wind is in this direction, this is, I'll put it like this, and that wind will just keep the thing moving all day, as long as there's wind. Okay, and then any other questions about that? Yes, sir.
Well, you can also pin fins if you need to get a little help.
Yeah, these are all.
You can pin them up.
Yeah. You fish on Winnebago, you were saying, and this is where I learned that they on Winnebago, especially for walleye fishing, that's primarily what the guys use out there. But I just kind of changed it up a little bit and beefed it up a little bit more so I could catch pike with it. We've done really good on the Mississippi River bottoms using these windless tip-ups. So any other good?
You just hand over hand that?
Yeah, it's a tip-up.
Yeah.
It's there you go.
What brand is it?
It's windless is a Polar HT.
Okay.
Yep. They're not as available as they used to be.
I've never seen that before. They have the HT makes just the kind of the bouncy version where it's just like kind of a metal piece of metal with a fishing rod on the, or a holder on the end of it. It's just kind of bouncy.
Yeah, if you go online, you could find them, I'm sure. So yeah, it's just something a little bit different. See, these pike are swimming by, and there's a big bright jig, and they're seeing something going like this over here. Now they're gonna come. They're gonna swim through a couple stationary tip-ups, and hopefully swim to that one. And you know, it's just ups your odds a little bit more. Okay. $30. Okay, and you rig it the same. It's the same. It's the same tip-up line. I think I'm using 25 pound. If you want me to pass it around, I will. But
That's probably not bad.
I got it. There's a hook on there, so
He's gonna ask you.
there's.
Silver with the glow.
Yeah, that's just what I have set up for walleyes, but and it's all adjustable once you get out on the ice. It depends on your wind and. No, I'm just going to use the same 7-strand. Yes. For pike, I'm going to use the wire. For the walleyes, I'm going to use an 8-pound fluoro or a 10-pound fluoro. Okay. So, yes, sir.
Would you use those for panfish, or would you have a different setup?
For panfish, I'm going to use. I have not used those for panfish. What I use are I always forget
Finicky foolers?
the Finicky foolers. That's what I use for panfish. Just because I like the fact that you could put a noodle rod down, and I like the fact that you can set those. And I know a lot of the guys use those Finicky foolers for pike. I just got to stop buying. Okay, I'm retired now. I'm on a fixed income. I just retired October 11th. But I've got 4 of those Finicky foolers, and the cool thing about them, and there is a definite use for those pike fishing, okay, is you can rig it how, once you set it, you load the rod up, you drop the bait down, you load the rod up, and then you can set it 2 ways. So once the fish hits the bait, the rod unloads, and that's one way to set it. The minute the fish hits the bait, the rod unloads and hopefully catches the fish. Or you can set it where the fish hits the bait and the rod, it deploys, but you have your bail open. And so then your fish is swimming away, then you pick up the rod and set the hook, and you're in business. So I like doing that. I crappie fish a lot. I like setting them to where it's the auto hook set. The minute that thing goes, that hook is flying and hooking it in the mouth, because like tip down fishing, you miss a lot of fish. And using these Finicky foolers, you miss a lot of fish. So they'll just kind of hit it and then they'll back off. Well, I don't know how many of you guys tip up fish, but a lot of times you'll see it go like this, and then it'll go back up and it's done. Well, when you have it set up automatic, at least you got a shot at crossing his eyes. So, okay. And you have those foolers out there.
Yes.
If you guys have any questions about those later, I'll be around. So, the other thing I like to do is, again, let's say we got 9 tip ups out. Is once I get, you got to remember it's 3 lines per angler. Okay. I'll drill a couple holes on the outside of the spread, whatever, extra 4 or 5 holes, and that is when I will jig. I'll actually have a jig rod, and that's what I'll jig for pike. And again, I'm using the same stuff that I have on the windless. I'm using an airplane jig, a regular jig. I've had tube jigs down there. I've never messed around with paddle tails, but I've had plastics down there. Again, it's the exact same concept. Okay, the most important thing is the reason I set up on the outside is that you're not disturbing your stationary sets, your traps on the inside. Walking on the outside, again, it's motion, it's movement. They're curious. They're gonna see something like that, and there's a good chance they're gonna come in and either hit your bait, or they're gonna swim by it and say, "Oh, look at this little guy. I'm gonna eat that," and then you get a flag. So, yes, sir.
How big are your spreads here? Are they 10 feet apart or 100 feet apart?
Well,
It depends.
if I'm fishing a flat area, I'm going to spread them a little more, but I don't like to run as much as I used to. I'm not quite the Ben Johnson that I once was. So I don't know, but 30 30 feet, something like that. If you got a real steep break, you know, something that, you know, is going like this, and it's a real short distance, I'll have 3 tip-ups real close, just so I'm covering the main points. But I just spread them out where, you know, according to the depth. A lot of times we'll drill holes and we'll have one person with a Vexilar and one person with the auger, and okay, this one's this, and you know, you just it's kind of a game time decision as you go there. Okay. Anything else? Okay.
6-inch holes, 8-inch holes?
I use an 8-inch hole.
8-inch holes.
Yeah, I just bought an auger just like the one that Pat has out here, that little Strike Master. And actually my wife gave it to me for my retirement present. But those little lithiums, I've only used it a little bit this year, but my brother has one, and he's just amazed at the number of holes you can get out of that little battery. It's that 24. I think that one out front's a 24 volt.
There's a 24 and a 40.
Yeah.
Yep.
The nice thing about that is it's only 12 pounds, and it hasn't failed to start once on me. So, and you know, a lot of times if I'm just going out for an afternoon, it's going to work perfect for me. I have a good idea of how many holes I'm going to need, and you don't have to mess around with the 25-pound auger and gas and all that stuff. So that new lithium Strike Master auger is really, it's going to be a game changer. You're going to be able to fish an afternoon and have enough battery charge. I think they say you could get 50 holes, you know, 8 inches, whatever. I don't know. I haven't tested it that far yet, but it's a game changer. It's lighter, you know, it's easier, and you're going to drill more holes that way. So then, any other questions? Yes, sir.
So if you start catching fish on like a certain depth,
Yep.
you're gonna move the rest of your holes up to that depth?
I have. We were on Puckaway one time, and we had 12 tip-ups out, okay? And we had 11 pike that day, and all 11 came on one tip-up. And we moved tip-ups there, didn't matter. They swam right around the bait, and it was that hole. So I as a rule, I did that day, but as a rule, no. I'm generally confident. I'm confident in my spread, and knowing that I'm covering 3 different high percentage areas, and you just never know when a fish is going to come swimming out of deep water and swimming up the point near the bar. So it's just, to answer your question, no, I don't. I have done it, but as a rule, I'm going to sit tight. Okay? Good question. So late season, okay, again, this is kind of mid-season, late January, mid-February. Late season is when I move back shallow, okay? And the pike at this time, they have one thing on their mind, and that's eating and spawning. So they're gonna gorge, and at this time of year is when dead bait is gonna be your best option, okay? Pat has smelt available this year. lot of times, the biggest pike I have ever caught, I've got 5 over 40. The 4 of those pike were all caught on dead bait. Okay, and the thing with smelt is sometimes they float, and that is when you stuff a nail down their throat. And that is what we call the great equalizer, okay? That'll get them to sink real quick, okay? And we were talking about lake trout fishing. This gentleman casts out egg sinker and with a big Cisco and lets it sit on bottom and the lake trout eat it. When I used smelt for bait, years ago, I was always of the opinion that, and again, I'm not an artist here, but I would just hook one treble hook on the side, put the nail down its throat, and I would make sure that it was perfectly perpendicular to your line, okay, parallel to the bottom. That has caught a lot of pike for me over the years. Since since then, I've kind of changed, and again, I like using all quick set rigs, and I like you're up in your odds by 50%. And what I will do is with the quick set rig, the tail's gonna go like this. I'll just drop a hook in the side here, and then drop another hook in the side there. And again, those smell like, they don't smell very good, is what I will tell you. And I still put scent on them, just because I believe it's a difference maker. These fish at this time, and I'll use the map here, late February, kind of towards the end of season here, the areas I'm going to go to is a lot of these fish spawn up in Cherokee in the Yahara River. So I'm going to be fishing North Bay once it starts warming up. The weather patterns have changed. Obviously, we all know that, but late season, I'll just say the North Bay area is real good. The Pheasant Branch Creek, they spawn up in there. I'm going to be fishing outside. I'm going to be fishing this break, or I'm going to be fishing inside that rock pile, the boat channel. Those are areas I'm going to be looking at, because those pike are going to come wherever they are at, and they are going to funnel down and eventually end up spawning somewhere up in the north part of the lake. Okay. Let me see. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to make a quick set leader real quick. Is that cool? Okay. This is going to be your hook, okay? We have to imagine. We're going to pretend. Okay, and this is 7-strand wire. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the eye of the hook, and I'm using either a 6 or an 8 treble. Okay? I'm going to make a loop. This is real simple. I'm going to go through the loop once. I'm going to go through, and this really is handy if you have a fly tying vise. A good fly shop might have a fly tying vise around.
We've got a couple.
So you put your treble hook in the vise. Okay. So you got, again, simple. Over. Now you take your tag end and you're going to run it through your eye again. Okay? Now you got a big loop. you cinch it down, and with that 7-strand, it'll tell you, it'll start turning over if you're cinching it too small, okay? Now you just go over again and over again 4 times. With the 7-strand, if you do it right, you're gonna screw up a few of them, but if you do it right, this last wrap, when you make it and pull it through, it's gonna go kink, you're gonna feel it lock in, okay? So now you take, with the 30-pound wire or the 25-pound wire, I use a number 2 sleeve, a collar. Are you guys, do you know what those are? I'll show you. Pat's got them. It's a crimp, okay? It's just a little, if you want to pass those around, you can. You're going to take a crimp, and you are going to crimp your leader right here. Okay, then you're going to cut your tag end off. Now the beautiful thing about this is the weakest part of your leader has 2 wraps of line around it, so it's become the strongest part of your leader. And you have a loop knot, so your treble hook is going to be, it's going to be a lot freer. Your bait is going to swim more naturally, okay? Then what I'm going to do is, there's 2 ways to do this. If I make it a quick set rig, you can use single rigs, okay? There's your hook, there's your there's your leader. You do the same thing. You put a barrel swivel up here, you're done, okay? If I'm going to do a quick set, I'm going to go up the line. I'm going to slide another sleeve on. And then I'm going to make a little loop. I'm going to slide a sleeve on and a treble hook. Okay? Then I'm going to go like that. Then I'm going to crimp it. So now, and then this is going to be your barrel swivel. Now you've got 2 treble hooks hanging there. When you set the hook, you've upped your odds 50%. Okay? The other way I do it is I'll put a crimp, say 1.5 inches, 2 inches above on the main leader line, and then I'll put a bead, and then I'll put a treble hook. I use both of these. I'll put a treble hook. With that system, if you're using a big long smelt, now you could just move that treble hook. Okay? When the fish hits it, if it hits just that front treble hook, it's got to slide a little bit, but once that bead hits the crimp, done. So, okay?
Doesn't that count as two lines?
No, not a quick set does not. Correct?
Yep.
It's
per bait in the water.
yes.
Oh.
Yep, but a maximum of 3 hooks per bait in the water.
Right.
That's why you don't
It's
do
like,
musky cranks with 4
oh,
hooks on them anymore.
right. Okay. Then I'll show you one other thing that's real important is hooking the bait. Okay. All right. This is your shiner, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook my 1 treble hook in, I'm going to open the mouth of the fish and just hook it just like it just bit, okay? You just lightly lip hook one right here. Then the other one, I'm just going to lightly skin hook. See, I see people taking these treble hooks and gouging it into the bait, and all that's going to do is kill your bait, and it's going to he's not going to swim naturally. With the 2 loops in your quick set and your hooks dangling, and by lightly skin hooking the bait, it's gonna swim freer and it's gonna look a lot more natural, and you're gonna catch a few more fish because of it. Okay, sir?
Fishing with dead bait, how do you hook it?
Just with 2 hooks. Just put a nail, if it's floating, put a nail in it, and just one in the tail and one, towards the head. They're more often than not, they're going to hit it head first. So that's why my quick set, my first hook is here, and my second hook is, somewhere back here, wherever, and then this is going to the tip up. That way, if they hit it head first, you're partying. You got a hook right there, and that's going to tear out of that fish the shiner real easy, and you're going to be getting the fillet knife out, or releasing and taking a picture, whatever you choose. Any other questions? I'm kind of running out of things to talk about. Yes, sir.
When you're using dead bait, do you change where you're putting them in the water column, like later season versus early? Are you running stuff higher or lower?
That's a good question. Generally, when I'm fishing dead bait, I'm keeping them down towards the bottom. That's just where I've had I have raised them up before, and you would think that with the dead fish that have floated up or that are below the ice, you would think that raising it up would make sense. But for some reason, and it might be one of those things that I haven't done it that much, so I don't know, but I know I've had my best luck 2 feet off bottom. Good question. Yes, sir.
You get the go ahead tomorrow. You got nothing going on. Wife says you can fish all day long. Where are you going?
Well, if I'd go to Mendota if it was froze over. I haven't been pike fishing yet this year. I've been just pan fishing, and we've been up on Lake Wiss. We've been fishing Lower Lake and the Big Slough, and I fished Cherokee one time. I didn't do that good in Cherokee. Caught one real nice one. Let it go. I like to pike fish once I can get out on the main lake. So if it was a week from now and Mendota's over, I'm not gonna go way out to the Commodore or anything like that, but I'm gonna hit Warner Bay. Some place that I can walk out. Maple Bluff. Yeah, I've done. Yeah, I've never walked out of there, so I don't know.
There's usually a big pressure crack right off the tip.
Yeah.
You just have to watch out for that.
Yeah,
Which is right where the usually a bunch of tip ups are too.
yeah, of course. But yeah, I'm gonna wait, and we're gonna get through this thaw or this freeze, and then have another thaw. I'm gonna. I'm about 2 more freezes before I go out pike fishing. I'm not as thin as you are. So yes, sir.
If you're just trying to catch a bunch of pike and you're not worried about getting really big ones, do you vary the bait size at all, or you still want them big?
Yeah, if you just want to catch a 24-inch pike or whatever, go large shiners. If you go to Action Lake, there's a lot of there's a lot of smaller lakes around that you can go catch smaller fish. A lot of the sloughs and whatnot. I'm not trying to be arrogant or whatever, but I'm after big pike, So, and the smaller, the 24-inch pike will hit a huge shiner. I caught on Lake Monona, I was trolling for muskies using a 13-inch crankbait, and I caught a 22-inch pike on it. Okay, it was over half its size.
Well, they aren't too bright anyway.
Yeah, they're not too smart, but they are fun as heck to catch. Take a kid fishing. It's a great sport. I have a lot of fun doing it.
Mendota's loaded with smaller pike right now too, like so many that it's kind of annoying. So there's tons of them, but yeah, I probably wouldn't change what I'm
Yeah.
doing there. Yeah. Just large.
Did you see this?
Monona.
Did you see the spotted pike release? That was cool.
Yeah.
That was cool.
You wanna get the bones on again?
No, you're going to teach me that.
I got a question.
Dick is a master at Y-bone and pike.
On your initial setup there, where you got your 3 tip-ups out,
Yes, sir.
do you periodically, maybe an hour and a half goes by, maybe raise each one a foot or lower each one a foot, and let it sit for a little while and
Yeah, well, it's a good idea to, if you're above weeds, to check them to make sure that they're not in weeds. So that, at that time, I don't have a tape measure out going, I'm 6 foot 4 inches off, I'm just going like this. So it does vary a little bit, but a foot really isn't going to make a difference. They're going to see it, and they're going to decide whether or not they're going to eat it.
So you don't tinker, no tinkering?
I don't.
Set and forget? Yeah.
No.
No tinkering, right?
No, sir.
How often do you check your bait?
It's tinkering.
That's a good question. Again, I like to stay out of my tip-up set, and with a quick set, I have got 2 points of contact on my bait. So, if it's really cold and it's freezing, yes, I will chip my holes out, but I maybe 3-4 hours. I don't mess with them. I know that they got hooks in them, and I'm confident in my set, and I set it and forget it.
Just warm it up to where you don't need to run whole covers. Do you still run with a shade?
I run whole covers, yeah. That's my bucket here.
So even if it's warm enough to where they're not ready to
Yeah, I always use them. Always use them, and especially when it's cold. The other thing is the fish scent. It's fish oil. So a lot of times when you spray your bait, you'll get a coating on the hole. That helps slow the hole from freezing also. And then a bunch of bubbles coming up doesn't hurt it either. So
what time of day are you normally getting bigger fight rolling through?
it varies. 4 o'clock is always we always call it the 4 o'clock run. I've had, but all day. We went out. We had a guide trip last winter, 2 winters ago, and we had 8 or 10 people out, and we got out at 6 o'clock and drilled holes and set up, and we did not have a flag all day, and I got 10 people sitting there looking at me, and it was very uncomfortable. But at about 10:15, boom. Then we ended up having a flag every 45 minutes for the rest of the day, and we ended up with 11 or 12 pike and a 43-inch muskie that day. And that muskie came out of 15 foot of water, the deepest tip up. So that's, you know, it's going to up your odds to vary your depths, okay? If you're fishing on puck away, I don't know if you guys fish that at all, but puck away is all 5 foot deep and there's weeds up this high. So there's no rhyme or reason to it. You poke a bunch of holes, you put your tip your bait down this deep, and then you're done. But the Madison chain has so many different weed edges and structure types and really neat drop offs that you're missing the boat if you're not staggering your depths and changing your sets up.
Do you use line markers?
When I'm in deeper water, I do. Say 15 foot or over, I'm using the little bobbers. But again, here I'm going 2 foot. And 10 foot, I'm going 6 foot, 5, 6 foot, and then deeper. A lot of times I won't even. I'll just go 6 foot. And that's about 9, and that puts the bait 5 foot off the bottom, which is where I want it. So if you only learn one thing today, it's from me. It's raise your baits up. And these fish are looking up. A lot of people are they're fishing below the fish.
What's your minimum you'll run off the bottom?
2 foot, 3 in real deep water, 35 foot water. I'll go 2 to 3 feet off bottom.
For walleye, are you doing that like 18 inches that most people do, or are you raising those baits up?
For the walleyes, if I'm fishing above weeds, it's going to be the same thing. The weed edges, I am going to bring the baits down a little bit, but I'm still going to go 2.5, 3 foot off bottom, where with a pike, I'm going to be 5 foot. So the walleyes run a little tighter to the structure a lot of times. And the other thing is, it's like with panfish, or when you're trolling, you always have, you run a bait or two high all the time. At least I do, because first of all, you never know exactly where they're going to be. And when I'm pan fishing and I'm dropping a jig down, I'm fishing from below where the ice is. Below, I fish the whole drop down all the time. Your larger, more aggressive fish they're the dominant fish. They're in the upper third of the water column. The smaller ones are down more. There's, it's kind of a hierarchy thing. So.
How are you staying organized out on the ice with all your tip-ups and all your...
I just do the same thing every year. I can make a leader. I have everything that I need in this bucket. That goes in if I'm going pike fishing, that goes in my milk crate on my ATV. Pan fishing is a little bit more difficult for me because I build all my own rods, and I've got right around 60 of them. So that gets a little confusing, but I'm pretty organized. I do a lot of, each year I change up a little bit. Yes, sir.
You mentioned the planer clips. You got any other tricks to keep from getting the minnow flags?
Just cutting the tail and these planer clips.
Nothing to add a little tension to the spool or anything like that?
No, I haven't had to. I don't think those spools are adjustable. But this works like a dream, I'm telling you. Okay?
How do you keep them buckets from sticking?
From sticking?
Yeah.
I got 3 hole covers in there. They're not touching. So when I take
The
Top two don't stick either, huh?
no, there's a little gap in there.
Go up one.
What's that?
Go up another one.
Oh, that's one bucket. That is a taller bucket.
Only got two buckets there. I thought there were about three buckets there.
No. No, that's covered holes. So.
So if you're gonna go to a new lake or something that you don't know depths, so use a depth finder, you use a camera, you use just your Vexilar to see how deep it is.
Vexilar.
And you just, so you Vexilar every hole and then.
Yeah. And even where I know on Mendota, where I know where I'm at, I drill and I have one person follow whoever I'm fishing with, letting me know how deep it is. If it's not the depth I want to be at, I fill the hole in and move on to another one.
So is a depth finder anything like scaring the fish away possibly?
No, not at that point. You got the auger going, so
Put the depth finder on, you catch a fish or whatever.
yeah.
And you depth find it again, to get like, I usually go 2 feet, 2, 3 feet off the bottom.
Uh-huh.
That's hard on a minnow too, when you, I guess that's a good idea, just, how tall you are, just kind of guess.
Yeah, it's a lot quicker. I mean, again, it's not an exact science. People stress way too much about, it's got to be 16 inches off the bottom. Yeah, no, it doesn't.
That really goes to say something too. Like the amount of time I've put into just making sure it's 16 to 18 inches off the bottom, and you're just like 1, 2, 3, it's in, you're done.
Yeah.
You're in the water, you're fishing.
Yeah.
That makes a difference too.
Do you want to play with your little depth finder and no,
Yeah.
drop it.
That probably takes a lot out of your brain too and everything.
Yeah.
Thinking about it too.
Yeah, and then setting these things are a pain. But I do use them, but they are a pain.
They can slide on too.
Yeah, they can.
What I've done is, if the ice control is fairly clear, is I'll just put a little bit of water on there and set my depth finder sensor right on and shoot right through the ice.
Yeah, that works.
Instead of drilling a hole and disturbing things.
That works. No question. All right. Last chance for romance.
All right.
Okay, well, thank you guys. Good question.
Yeah. I do want to thank Pat. Did a great job, and I forgot to mention when we started, he's got some cards up here. He is guiding, so if you want to see all this stuff put into action, hire him, and you can learn that way, firsthand. Did everybody get their name on a ticket?
Working on it.
Dave, jeez. Yeah, sure. And then we'll do the little drawing here quick. And, we got a few. All right. Getting tickets. I hope.
Oh, sure.
We're just gonna do a little prize
I
drawing.
should have a tip down out there, and he's bringing it. That's Pat. Pat has this.
He has it.
Yeah, yeah. And he's got the sleeves too.
Reminded me 4 times.
That's a different test.
We are doing a prize drawing here, real quick. Did you
That
write your
is
name
a
down?
super freaking event.
I know it might be bedtime.
Well, as long as you can catch fish, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, especially for something like this. All right,
No,
does everybody got their?
I'm a director.
Everybody got their ticket?
Oh,
Everybody-
you would be if you have a buddy that wants to fish, it's $750, and it's a guided trip all day, and 3 meals
Is everybody?
and a bunch of beer.
Hey,
Okay.
that's all right. We're just gonna do the prize drawing here quick, and then you can come up and ask Pat all the questions you want. So we're gonna give away. I just got some hook packs, and then I got a little package of the line crimps, or the wire, the crimps, and the hooks.
Okay.
Some more hooks. So
I'll take
Pat?
that. Oh, okay. Oh,
got to draw a name. It's your
all right.
last task.
Okay.
Who you got?
Sam Blotch.
Sam?
Sorry,
You right
Sam.
there? Sam?
Sorry,
You win a pack of
Sam.
hooks. Congratulations.
I'll take that.
No, one more, or two more actually.
Oh, okay, go for it.
I didn't quite understand.
Okay, it's difficult. Bob, Gracie.
Bob, there you go. Little pack of hooks for you. Thank you. Yep, those are the hooks that Pat likes. And then we got the grand prize here. It's just a little leader making kit with the stuff that Pat was talking about.
Okay.
He's going to the bottom.
Oh, I dropped it. Oh. Colleen Olson.
Colleen? Yeah? Right on.
You.
That's you, yeah? Good.
Cool.
Hey, thanks again, everyone. Give
Thank you,
Pat
guys.
a round of applause. We'll have the register up if you want to get anything.